Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Volume 2 of the College Football Recruiting Bible with Coach Mike Judy. If you haven't listened to Volume 1, I will highly suggest you go back and listen to that. Coach Judy is delivering the Mike Judy version of college football recruiting. This is real. There's no fakes. There's no fluffs, no shenanigans. Stay tuned. You mentioned, camps and the kids being seen, or if you're a borderline player on film, it's kind of hard to tell. Talk to us about, putting those splash plays. You mentioned splash plays up front.
Yes.
And keeping that film maybe nothing longer than 3 minutes, no JV footage, and definitely no 7-on-7 film.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not going to knock 7-on-7. There are some coaches who are very, very strongly against 7-on-7 and what's happening there. And I don't want to see football become AAU basketball.
Correct.
I don't want to see that, but there's value in 7-on-7, not from a recruiting standpoint. In most cases, it's not going to help your recruiting, but there's value to being able to get out there and compete. So I'm not going to knock it, but athletes and families, if you're listening, please take this advice. Number one, nobody cares about your JV film or freshman film. Do not make a highlight reel. Do not waste money with some production company to make you some crazy highlight reel with the hottest music out there playing in the background. It's a waste of time and money. If you want to do it, make it about you and for your own personal wants. It's not going to help you get recruited. The only thing the first thing I should say, the coaches are looking at is your film. And it's got to be varsity film. It's got to be good. If you have crappy film, you're not going to get recruited. It's everything they need to see can be found on film. So the film that you make, the highlight reel that you make is critical in your recruiting. You could be the best player in camp in spandex, spandex and the scrum cap, with no helmet on, playing, running right. Drills, right? You could be the best player there. It doesn't matter if your film doesn't back it up. And vice versa, if your film is phenomenal, but then you go, let's say you're a running back, your film looks awesome, but then you go to a camp out of shape and run a, 5 flat, 40 laser time, your recruiting is over. It's over. So
get me started on laser times, man. All my timing is done electronically with that free lap timing gate system. I also have the power timing gate system, but I don't play. If you say you run a 4 or 5, come do it with me. But I don't want to digress, Coach. Go ahead.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm the free lap system's unbelievable. I'm actually trying to allocate some money so we can get it as well. I use an old Spark system that's probably 15 years old to do my electronic timing, and everything we do is electronic too.
The guy's name is Chris Glazier. I think if Chris still works for them, the customer service is outstanding. Okay, great. I'm going to look him up.
So your film is critical. The kid that I have going to Penn State, he put his highlight reel together. So as the season goes, about every third game of the season, natural breaking points in the season, in our Monday meeting, I tell my kids, get your highlights together. Start making your highlight reel now. It doesn't have to be complete. Just start picking the clips off of Huddle. Or whatever. Off of whatever system you're using, but we use Huddle. Start picking the clips out that demonstrate these things. The things that are going to make you stand out. So there's a couple things that need to be seen, and a lot of it is dependent on your position. But what I talk about it being a splash play. So I took that terminology from a coach. So I've had lots of coaches come through our building, and I've had lots of time to sit down with them and just talk, not just about our kids, but just talk in general. And a lot of great young coaches and some great veteran coaches have given me awesome advice and have been very open, and I'm very thankful to them, to help me be better as a coach and helped me be better in the recruiting game. So this is all information I've taken from coaches who actually recruit our kids. The splash plays are going to be things that stand out on film. These coaches are seeing thousands of recruits that play your position. Thousands. You have to have film that stands out, different or more impressive than the others. If your film doesn't stand out, you're not going to get recruited by that coach. There's no way. So my kid that's going to Penn State, he put together his highlight reel, and he did it on his own. He listened to what we were telling him, and his film was so good. The first clip, granted, you got to remember this is an offensive lineman. So first of all, he's a huge person. He's 6'4", 300 pounds. But what makes him the difference between a 6'4", 300 pounder going to Penn State or Notre Dame or Florida State or places like that versus the 6'4", 300 pounder that ends up at a Division II school or a FCS school? He can move. He's an athlete. And I'm not talking like he's not going to win a foot race, with the running backs. He's not like that freakish of an athlete. But compared to these other guys, these other people that are similar size and position as him, he moves better. He's more fluid. He's a knee bender, not a waist bender. When he uncoils and pops into a kid, the kid goes flying. So his first clip was us running stretch, and he's playing tackle, and they're running an odd front, and he easily reaches the 4 technique that's on him, and they combo off, and he gets to the linebacker, and he tracks the linebacker down, gives him a little pop. The kid lifts off his feet onto his back, and then there's this moment where you look on the film and you see him look at the kid go to the ground, and then like straight WWE big splashed him. I mean, just 300 pounds, left his feet, and just jumped on top of this dude that's on the ground. And just like, it was like a bear, a grizzly bear attacking a baby deer. And that clip alone was enough. Just that got him an offer, because they were like, I have not seen a single kid do this. Like, look at how graceful he is. Look at how well he moves. And then look at how nasty he is. So for him, the film got him 13, 15 offers, just his film. He hadn't even done a camp yet, and he already had 15 offers.
Well, I like what you said about the description of the play, man. I tell kids you have to be violent and nasty, and you have to prepare and train accordingly. But go ahead, Coach. I appreciate that. Yeah,
no problem. A receiver is a tough spot because you're kind of subjected to your offense. If you're a great receiver in a 3-back wishbone system, you're not going to get a ton of balls thrown your way. Everything you do better be good on film. Like, you may not have 50 catches in a year. You may have 10 catches. Yeah. But what happens if 8 of those are touchdowns that you break 3 or 4 tackles, or you moss a kid, as my son calls it. You moss a kid.
That's what they call it.
Okay, good. I just thought it was my 9-year-old.
Now here's the other thing I want you to think about in terms of DBs. I found from this 7-on-7 season, they have a fear of being mossed too. So this is a new thing, a fear of being mossed. But we'll discuss that another time. But go ahead.
Yeah. How the impact of Randy Moss on our game of football, huh? So like, if you're a kid that plays receiver in a run-heavy system and you get maybe 4 or 5 balls thrown your way in a night, it doesn't mean you need to find a new school. And it doesn't mean that your coach is wrong in running the system he knows how to coach. What it means is, if you're a dude that's a scholarship player, when that ball comes your way, you're going to do something with it. You're going to make that tough catch. You're going to moss the kid. You're going to break a tackle. You're going to make something happen. And then the other 90% of your clips offensively better be route running, maybe even on an overthrow. It doesn't matter. Like, what is this kid? Is this kid fluid? Is he athletic? Is he fast? Can he block? Yes. Is he tough? What's he do with the ball when the ball's in his hands? Like, those are all things that you only need 2 or 3, 4 clips that show what you can do, and it's over. You're getting a scholarship if it's good enough. So every position, running backs, they don't want to see the play where you run 90 yards untouched unless it shows you pulling away with speed. So, like, if you're a running back that's very productive and have a bunch of long runs, don't put the long run on there unless it shows you pulling away from people. If you're just like barely squeaking into the end zone and like that, where you were untouched, and it shows that you weren't the fastest kid in your area, don't show it. You don't need that one. Put that at the back of your highlight reel. But up front, they want to see the splash. This kid that takes the ball and accelerates fast, and it gets up the top speed quick, and runs a kid over, shakes a kid out of his boots, makes a great play, finishes the run hard, runs a kid over, runs a second kid over, and gets knocked out of bounds. That's a good clip. So maybe it's not the 80-yard run that you should put up front. Maybe it's the really, really good 18-yard run, or maybe it's the one where you go into a pile of people and there's 4 or 5 defenders hanging off of you, and you just somehow magically, like all the good athletes do, they magically come out of there and just sprint for a touchdown. That's the clip, not the untouched 80-yard run.
Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
As we get into the third quarter, I wanted to talk about the elephant in the room. And, I'm a 7-on-7 coach. I use that to hone my craft as a coach from an offensive perspective and defensive perspective. And I tell this to my kids, coach, use this to hone your craft. That's what this is for. Take the same approach to this as you would the 7-on-7 game. I mean, the 11-man game. You still have to do your training. I'm an independent strength coach. Also, I'm like, it's like you said, they should run together. It shouldn't take the place of a camp. But I see some kids that they'll do the 7-on-7, and because it has or reeks of the AAU mentality, you have that sense of ownership and entitlement. And we actually have some outstanding programs out here in the Northwest that go to these tournaments and dominate them, but they're ran by good people. Yeah, great students. And there's Ford Sports Performance out here, FSP, and Tracy Ford. Shout out to Tracy. He has some 5, 4-star, 3-star athletes that are great student athletes. You'll hear about G. Scott. He was an early commit to the Ohio State, but G came up in his program from 7th grade on and used it for what it was, to hone his craft. And we saw him get better over the years. But there's also a lot of shenanigans that go on at the same time, and I'm sure you. So I want you to go ahead and speak on it, man. And once again, I coach 7-on-7. I had Thomas Stallworth on a few weeks ago. He doesn't believe in 7-on-7. So this is about you expressing yourself. This is a platform for us all to learn and express ourselves. So
yes,
let's hear it, man.
For sure. Okay. Well. So the 7-on-7 thing, I think, is a phenomenal tool. It's a tool, as much like you said, used to sharpen your sword, hone your axe. It should not be your life in the spring. It's a supplement. I try to tell my kids it's a supplement to what we do. It's extra work. Yes. And I always use examples of guys I've coached in the past or guys I'm close to in the past that end up being great players who never did any of that. They never did any of that. Yeah. Yeah. Even in the current age where it's so prevalent, there's a young man that I know who's going to Penn State. He has not done a single 7-on-7 tournament, and he was the number 3 running back in the nation. It's not necessary if you're a dude. I agree. Yeah. However, it's a great tool, and if you use it wisely, it can benefit you. I don't know how much actual recruiting happens, contrary to what many of these, like you said, the shenanigans, many of these dudes these shady cats that run these things will hint to or even express that this is a great exposure opportunity. And in reality, it's not.
Let me tell you something about that, Coach.
Yeah.
About here's the exposure part. When we say exposure, and I'm with Pro Baller 7v7, that means we highlight our kids that have good grades. We put that shit up on Twitter and Instagram. When you make good plays, our camera guy, we put that shit up on Twitter and Instagram. That's what exposure we talk about. You make some good plays, and if you're already being recruited, and what I found is that they'll look at your Twitter. They'll look at the 1 minute or the 2 minute clip on Twitter or Instagram.
Oh yeah,
we've been seeing that, but you still have to go play the 11-man game, and that's what I tell the
sure.
You know. So go ahead. Yeah,
no, that's great. And we've gone to 7-on. We actually do some team 7-on-7 tournaments, and you know it's a little bit of a different atmosphere.
Yes.
But I don't, just in generally speaking, I'm cool with 7-on-7. I think it's a necessary tool. Honestly, like that kid that I said didn't go to any 7-on-7s. Well, he's also a genetic freak. I mean, he didn't need to, because it didn't matter what that kid did. He's got a 3.75 and a 1,200, and he's a number 3 running back in the nation or whatever. So it didn't really matter. He didn't need to do any of it. But I think it is a great tool, and it's necessary, especially for us. We're a spread offense. Like, we need to do these things. We need to compete, have a little friendly competition here and there, and it keeps our kids sharp and allows us to go into the season with a really good understanding and grasp on the fundamentals and mechanics of our passing game. And then we can put a lot of emphasis on our line play, on our front seven and our line play during the season. So it is a valuable tool. And I think, it's as a whole, it's not bad. Are there bad coaches out there? Sure. But there's bad high school coaches. There's bad high school coaches too. That's the other elephant in the room, is that nobody wants to talk about that. But the truth is, my advice to a kid would be, first of all, take a look at your own coaching staff, your high school coaching staff. You might be surprised, and again, it kind of falls under that, like, grass is always greener somewhere else. That dude that is your position coach may be the most qualified to coach you in the area. Like, regardless of what, maybe he's not boastful, maybe he doesn't talk about it, but maybe he really is the best D-back coach in the area, and you don't need to go anywhere else. So first things first is, if you've got a great coaching staff at your high school, you don't need to go anywhere. You don't need to get, for example, I've been a strength coach for 20 years, in college, at the prep school with the college and NFL kids and Major League Baseball. My kids don't need to go anywhere to get quality strength conditioning. They don't. Now, if you're at another school, you might have to. So I think it's each individual kid needs to think about it, really assess the situation. But the 7-on-7 thing should be a supplement to what you do. Again, being a strength coach like you, there is no off season. There is no, once you dedicate your life to a sport, there is no stopping. Like, can you stop and take a vacation? Sure. But everything you do, it just becomes part of your life. It just becomes the way I go about my life as I'm training. And when I'm in football season, I might train a little differently, but I'm still training.
Yes.
And when I'm out of season, I got to assess what I need to do with my body and my measurables, and I need to attack those things. And that's my job as a strength coach in my school, is to help do that as well. And individualize the training a little bit, and make sure my skill guys aren't lifting like linemen, and make sure my linemen are sprinting all the time like a skill guy. We're not out here running miles. We're sprinting. So the training thing is an ongoing thing. Once you say you want to be a college football player, okay, then you need to start training like one, and the training never stops.
Different when you make that statement.
Yeah, 100%. You better be. It's an all in, and it's year round, and there's nothing in between. You're either all in or you're all out, and you're only going to get what you put into it. And so the training begins, and you start training year round, and then you're not going to stop that. You're not going to stop that because it's like 7-on-7 or camp season. You know, you might taper. You know, if you got a strength coach or maybe a strength coach with a track background, they might even taper you a little bit before you hit your camp circuit, which that's what I do. You know, right before they go out to their camps, I start to gear them down a little bit and make sure they're super fresh.
Yes.
You know, I want them springy, bouncy. I want them like a damn maniac out there. While everybody else is, you know, their strength coaches are making them do German volume training and 10 sets of 10 and wearing their legs out. And we're like treating it like it's a track season and you're about to hit states. So the 7-on-7 is critical, I think, to the development of your skill positions. And whether it's guided by your high school coaches, if they're well-versed and great coaches, or maybe they're not, and maybe you do need to supplement it.
What happens out here, Coach, is the typical like select team aspect of it. It begins to ramp up in December, and then the season starts in mid to late January and will run to like mid-May. And then out here in like late May, that's when the team 7-on-7 season starts.
Oh, very good. Okay, so it's got some sort of organization and structure. I can get down with that.
Yes.
Do you find? Let me ask you this: do you find a lot of your kids are running track in the spring and still?
Yeah, and I was just getting to that about other sports, and I tell my kids if you have an issue with speed, your ass is running track. And then we have kids that might be coming out of basketball season where we just tell them, don't worry about the practices. If we have scrimmages on a Friday or Saturday, if you're a JV guy and basketball is your secondary sport, don't trip off not coming to our early practices. Just go ahead and play basketball out. And then the ones that are running track, they might come to practice like once a week. And then depending on their event, you know, we might just play them on offense or defense and not let them go both ways because we do have some serious sprinters on our team.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, good. That's I think finding the balance.
It is a balance. It's a sweet balance.
Yeah. Yeah. And it really takes some very organized and thoughtful adults to be able to help this process. Kind of like what you were just saying is, you know, like, hey, you're in basketball, man. Don't worry about these early practice. It's cool. Just go compete and be a baller. Like, it takes the adult that has the good mindset to be able to kind of pave that way. And I know there's a lot of worry about specialization and you know, kids specializing in a sport. And we, you know, in my area, in my school, we promote a multi-sport athlete with the caveat of, hey man, you know, like, football's over. We're a big wrestling school. Like our wrestling team our wrestling program is historically really, really good. And, you know, we have a handful of kids that are wrestlers. Well, you think I'm going to worry about that kid who's out there busting his balls and like in a wrestling room? Like, I'm not worried about him, man. That dude is like, he's intensely competing every day just to survive wrestling practice. Like, if anything, you know, if anything, hopefully they're signed up for my daily weight training class in school, and I'll treat him like an in-season athlete. Now I'll make sure that he lifts heavy and lifts low volume and he gets what he needs to get so that he doesn't gain weight. He can make his weight classes now. And, you know, we try to take a more holistic approach and balance the things out for him. And it's nice to hear that that's happening in other parts of the country. And I know, like I said, the specialization is a buzzword that creates a little fear, especially in athletic programs and athletic directors' minds. But the reality is, if there's an AD listening out here, man, is, yo, I'm as competitive of a football coach and as you get. I mean, you know, I'm very competitive. I'm respectful, but I'm competitive, and I'm always looking for the edge that falls within the rules of engagement. But I'm not going to tell a kid not to play basketball. I mean, our starting quarterback is a shooting guard on our basketball team. It's his second love. Like, he loves basketball, but he really, really loves football. I'm not touching the kid. We're not even, if he wants to do something, that's on him. But I'm not telling him anything other than go be the best damn basketball player you can from November through February, And then when you're done, hey, you need a little break? Cool. Take a week off. But you need more, your body's hurting, take a week and a half. I don't care. Just be happy. Be happy and have fun. And it's like, the ADs and people out there are so worried about, us like hoarding athletes or something. Man, football coaches of all people recognize the value of other sports within our sport. And, I can't say that with basketball. I can't speak for the basketball coaches because they seem to want to hoard.
Oh, don't get me started on them. That's a whole other conversation.
Oh my God.
They'll have kids that are 6'4", can't shoot, can't dribble, and I've told them your ass is in the Division I body right now for football. 6'1", you're not playing guard at the next level. You can't shoot either.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we had a kid that was like a 6'4", 225, 230-pound kid who was an athlete. I mean, a straight athlete. He refused. I offered all the time, like, hey, man, why don't you come out and play football, man? We'll just teach you a few things. And what I can promise you is that you will be seen by Division I football coaches. I promise you that they will ask about you and take a look. And we have enough control to be able to put that kid in a position where the ball will come his way and be able to look at him and, put him in a position where he can make a play and get that film. Man, he just didn't want to do it. He was chasing this basketball dream. Well, man, you're 6'3.5", 6'4", and 220. You play like the power forward position. I got news flash for you, bro. There's no money for a 6'4" power forward.
Right.
But I'm
laughing, but it ain't funny because I hear it all.
I know.
See it.
I know, man. And it's like, dude, I guarantee if you're 6'4", 220 and can play like outside backer or DN just a little bit, you won't pay a dime to go to college. You won't.
That's right.
I use this example from back in Hargrave. I always try to talk to the basketball kids. And I ask them, I say, like, look, if you love football, but you're worried that it's going to cut into basketball, let's make a deal. It won't. You could still be a basketball player first. But come play football because you can't teach your size. And I don't think they realize how big these basketball kids are. Like the Division I basketball guys are humongous. And, there's a 5'11" kid in our school right now who plays point guard. He's a tremendous athlete, but he's all in on basketball. And I keep saying, man, like, look, I'm not trying to be a dream killer here, but you're not going to get any money to play basketball. You're just not. There's no money for a 5'11" point guard. There's just not. So why don't you come out and play corner? And, we can situate it so that all you got to do is cover people because Coach, I'm telling you, this kid is twitchy as all get out. I mean, this dude is like, a maniac. And I'm like, just go out there. We'll put you in one-on-one situations. Hell, I can even damn near guarantee you won't have to make a tackle.
Right.
I can almost guarantee it. But I promise you that if you do what you're capable of, we'll get film and we'll get you in front of coaches that can offer you money. But back at Hargrave, man, we had a PG basketball team too. So I coached the post-grads football, but we had a post-grad basketball team too. And we had a kid that, he was 6 foot. He was from Africa. He was 6'10", 6'10", 275 pounds. He was a thick body boy. And he had only been playing basketball for a little bit of time. He came over to the States and ended up, coming to this prep school. And, University of Georgia walks in. This is back in the day. University of Georgia walks in, and he happens to be in the weight room with us, like with the football team he's lifting. And I just throw him in the group with the big boys so that we didn't have to adjust the squat rack too much when he needed to squat. He's so damn big. And they're like, who's that big son of a gun? And I'm like, I'm going to keep his name out of it, but that's so-and-so, and he's a basketball player. They didn't even ask. They walked right up to him and said, God damn, son, you ever play football? And he's like, no. And they're like, well, how'd you like to have a full scholarship to the University of Georgia? They had never even seen the dude play. But because of his mass and his athletic ability, they're going to recruit him. So, anyway, sorry to digress there.
No worries.
Off topic, but multi-sport athletes, I encourage the kids to play multiple sports. I encourage them, especially if they have a love for it. Like, I want to see you compete, man. I want to see you compete hard and on the wrestling mat, on the basketball court, on the track, on the baseball diamond. Like, if you love it, go do it, because wherever you decide to play, whatever sport you decide to play in college, all that other shit cease to exist anymore.
That's
like,
right.
Your life will become that sport. And you don't want to be the old guy, 40 years old or, 45 years old. That's like, man, I played football in college, but, at the Division III, but man, I should have went, I should have really concentrated on track because I was pretty good. Yeah, you should have, but it's too late now. I don't want them to be that in that fraternity of young men that every town seems to have, of guys that never got to maximize their ability. And we want to avoid membership to that fraternity at all costs.
That's right.
I want them to maximize whatever they do. I don't care. I've got a little guy on my team now he's very slight. He's short and he's very light, but man, that dude is fast as hell, and he plays receiver for us. I tell him time and time again, man, yo, I love you and I'm your football coach, but your money is going to come from track. I want you to continue to play football, and we need you to play football, and we love you, but you need to run track. Like, you need to really put an emphasis on that in competing, because that's how you're going to get money to go to college.
That's right.
And he's a young guy, so hopefully he heeds our word. But it doesn't matter. At the end of this thing, it's just about taking young men and trying to get them in a position that's going to benefit them, whether it's through our sport or maybe through our sport promoting another sport. I don't care. As long as he's successful, man, I'm going to be happy.